Alright guys, we got another requested video, the LG V50 versus the iPhone 14 Pro here. So I've got a lot of LG people, you might be considering upgrading, or you just want to see like maybe in the future you want to upgrade to an iPhone. Well, let's go ahead and see the pros and cons here. So let's go ahead and get started with actually the speed. I was really curious about this. So the V50 has the Snapdragon 855 chip. You actually do have SD card support, which is one thing you'll be giving up. And then you also have 128 gigs of internal storage, and this one has 6 gigs of RAM on it. The iPhone does have the latest Apple A16 chip on here, 128 gigs and 6 gigs of RAM as well too. Let's go ahead and just launch some applications, see how they compare. I'll show you guys the Geekbench scores at the end. Let's try YouTube. Pretty much on par with each other here. Scrolling, you will see pretty smooth on the V50, but you will notice that 120 hertz slightly a little bit smoother, so that's also one thing that'll pop out to you. And let's keep it going. Let's try Google Earth. Boom. It's a little bit quicker on the iPhone for sure there. Let's go ahead and try Subway Surf. And it looks like the V50 actually got in there first. Wow. Boom. Pretty nice. So you guys can see the speed difference. It's not really too much of a difference there. Let's go ahead and try PUBG. So gaming performance on the V50, I dropped a full gaming test, I believe, not too long ago, and it still does a great job. A lot of people were surprised. Any phone, guys, just a heads up, any phone with a Snapdragon 855 chip, you will get some very good gaming performance out of. You can see the iPhone got in there super quick. But yeah, you will get some really good gaming performance out of a Snapdragon 855 chip. We're able to play at the same exact settings as we can on the 14 Pro as far as PUBG is concerned. And really a lot of other games, Call of Duty, mobile, it's able to play Fortnite. Let's go ahead and get into a game. So you guys can see performance on these two phones is pretty much on par. You're not getting a big like speed jump, I would say. And even if you're a casual gamer, even when it comes to casual gaming, look, we're on HDR Extreme. Again, running like butter on this phone. Super smooth. So like I said, if you're a casual gamer, then you probably won't notice the speed improvements really, because the chip is already pretty fast. But if you're more hardcore and you play games like Genshin and stuff like that, yes, the A16 will be able to get you those more consistent frame rates for sure. But they're both, you know, still excellent gaming devices, honestly. Here are the Geekbench scores, just for those that are curious. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the displays on these two phones, because this is also something that is kind of awkward, right? Because they both have a sort of different approach. The V50 sort of has an older implementation with the notch versus, I guess, the more modern looking, you know, cutout. I guess that's a more modern look these days. But as far as the screen quality goes, the V50 actually still has a very good screen. So it's got a full 1440p display. It is a 6.4-inch POLED display, and it is 538 for the PPI. No 120 hertz, so that's also something you're missing. The 14 Pro has the XDR OLED display. It is 120 hertz, HDR10, 6.1 inches, 460 for the PPI, and then it has a 1179 by 2556 resolution here. Like I said, I guess the pill shape kind of looks a little bit more modern than the notch. For sure, it really comes down to what your thoughts is on that. But as far as display quality, like I said, you do have that 120 hertz. The iPhone screen is going to be much brighter. It's actually one of the brightest displays at 2000 nits. So display upgrade could be definitely a good upgrade for sure, if you like 120 hertz and if you need a very bright display if you're outdoors a lot. But these both have two excellent displays here, guys. Guys, let's go ahead and talk about the speakers. Let's see which speaker is stronger, starting with the V50. Oh yeah, the iPhone definitely a better speaker by far. It is way louder, just way fuller. Yeah, almost makes the V50 sound muffled in comparison, actually. Yeah, DTS is on. Well, I can turn it off, see if it makes a difference, but doubt it. It actually helped a lot. Yeah, but it's still nowhere near. Yeah, the iPhone speaker is just way louder. It's way fuller, better bass. It's just overall a more clear sounding speaker as well. Also, let's talk about some of the additional features here. So we do have a physical fingerprint scanner on the back on the V50 as opposed to just having the Face ID on here. This also has Face Unlock, but you also have headphone jack with a quad DAC, which is big for audio lovers. So if you love high quality audio, you'll really like the V50 here. And like I said, you do have SD card support that you will be giving up. So this phone does have the capability of having way more storage than the 14 Pro. So if you load up a lot of movies and stuff like that, you'll definitely be missing out on that. The iPhone's Face ID actually works really well. Like I said, very secure. It is just an awesome Face ID system to use. Also, I want to mention that both these phones are IP68 dust and water resistant. And one cool thing about the V50 is that it's a completely flat phone. So that's one thing that I've always really loved about it. It's completely flat. It is a little slippery though, but definitely flat, way more comfortable to hold than the 14 Pro as well too. You guys can see that size difference there. V50 just taller, but the iPhone seems to be a little bit thicker, especially when it comes to these cameras. And the iPhone actually feels heavier as well too. I do like the iPhone's matte finish as well, opposed to the glossy finish on the V50 here. But yeah, hardware is really nice. They're both glass and metal devices here. They both support wireless charging as well, which is really nice. And yeah, so for build quality, they're both still very solid devices. Alright guys, let's talk about the cameras on here. I'll show you guys these side-by-side stills. The iPhone does have a 48 megapixel standard, a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, and then you also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens on here. It does have a macro mode on here as well, and then you also can shoot in 4K 60 on the front and back, and then you have a 12 megapixel selfie cam on here as well. On the V50, you also have a triple camera setup, and you do have a 12 megapixel standard on here. You also have a 12 megapixel telephoto. It does 2x optical, and then you have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K 60 with actually a dual camera setup. So it actually shoots in 8 megapixel selfie cam. Then you have a depth sensor up here that's 5 megapixels that only shoots in 1080p 60. So check out these side-by-side stills. Be sure to let me know what you guys think. Alright guys, here is the video on the V50. We have our 2x. Here's our ultra wide. Alright guys, here's the video on the 14. Here's our 0.5. And There's no, telephoto, so you do have a manual zoom or digital zoom. All right, finally, I do want to mention the battery life. My battery life experience is very good on both of these phones. Both these phones are all-day phones for me. They easily last 6 hours for screen on time, so that is really good. So you're not downgrading or anything like that when it comes to battery life. So overall, I think that there obviously are cons, especially if you really like SD card support, really like headphone jack. It's obviously not here on the iPhone. But if you like the stills on the iPhone, as well the cameras and stuff like that, then that's a nice upgrade. The display, having a brighter display, having a more modern looking cutout, that also could be good for you. And also just overall in general, just better software support for the iPhone. So what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.